All right.
Welcome back to the Square State Sandlot podcast. We've got John joining me today, and I am your host, Bill. Got a lot to talk about with, really, we've talked about most of the things that we had on the docket, but I did want to hear John's opinion on the Devontae Adams trade and what the Packers are doing in the offseason thus far. But first, let's talk about some Warriors since we haven't talked about them in a little bit. John, I know you're probably not watching all the games, but what have you seen recently, and what do you think their shots are going into the playoffs with all these injuries coming up?
Kind of think the Warriors are not going to go very far in the playoffs this season. It kind of was like throughout the season hoping Clay comes back, team's going to get better, Wiseman's going to come back, everybody's going to start clicking, and like everybody was saying, give me 75% of Clay, what he was, look out Warriors. And it's just not gelling like that.
See, the worst part is I feel like they finally found the rotation with Clay, Poole, and Steph all at guard, and then they had Wiggins and Draymond at forward positions. And I feel like it was just gelling like crazy, and then Steph gets hurt.
Yeah, they can't buy a break. I mean, no matter what they've gone through this season, there's always a hiccup.
Yep.
And you can see them play against Milwaukee and just tear them to pieces. And then, they lose to what? I can't remember who they played now.
They lost to Boston, but that was the game that Steph got his foot rolled up on, and we still don't know exactly what it was. They just said a strain in his foot, but haven't gone further than that. So obviously it's not ideal, especially the timing with him. They basically said he's out indefinitely, which can mean anything from a couple games to the rest of the season. Who knows? At least the initial diagnosis, they felt like he has a good shot to come back for the playoffs, but they did say they'll reevaluate in 2 weeks. So I think we could, as Steph goes, pretty much the Warriors go. So if he's out for the remainder of the playoffs, I don't like their chances at all. If he comes back and he's hobbled in the playoffs, I don't know that I like their chances, especially the way that some of the teams are coming on right now. But yeah, no, I think, like I said, I loved how they were gelling, especially that three-headed lineup with Clay, Jordan Poole, and Steph. Steph and Jordan are both great creators, and Clay is a great spot-up shooter. So I feel like that, and then you have the length of Wiggins, length and athleticism there on the, I don't even know if you call it the block. They're basically playing all four up in the perimeter and then have Draymond creating down below. So I really liked that lineup, and like I said, it was starting to come together really well in the last couple games, and then Steph gets hurt, and it's almost like takes all the wind out of what we're going to be able to do this season. So do you think there's a chance that Steph comes back for the playoffs, or do you think it's probably done now?
I think he'll be back.
Yeah.
It's kind of an impossible thing to just kind of judge off the cuff, but I think he'll be back. I think he's going to want to play, and he's going to have something really messed up with that ligament in his ankle to not.
Yeah. And based off the information we've been given, I think it's really hard to make any predictions on whether he'll be back or not. Like I said, 2 weeks is the evaluation period, and then they'll say, yeah, it's responding well, it's not. The thing that scares me is obviously he's had issues with his feet and ankles before, and that's obviously why he had that lower contract coming off his rookie contract. So it would surprise me if he doesn't at least try to come back, because obviously he'll have the whole offseason to recover. So he's going to want to just try to grit it out. But I don't know if him being at we already saw this season when he wasn't moving around well how bad that limited the offense. So I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing if he tries to force his way back and play through it. But I guess if you have two spot up shooters like Clay and Steph, that opens the floor for Jordan Poole to create, and then like I said, Andrew Wiggins to cut to the basket, and Draymond as well. But what we have learned is Wiseman had another setback. He played in 3 G League games, and everything was trending well for him to start playing in some of these back-to-backs that they have coming up in the closing weeks of the season. But he had some inflammation in his knee, and now they're backing him off. They said they don't know what this means for the rest of the season, but it's looking increasingly likely that he's probably not going to play again this season. And it's really disheartening because he had a meniscus tear last season, missed the rest of the season. And typically those are not major cause for concern, but he had the setback in the summer, and then he had the setback again later, or I guess into the season, where he had to have a second surgery, had to have the scope and have it cleaned out. And he really just hasn't been right since. So it seems like every time he gets close to coming back to games, then that's when it starts to flare up. So is this something I'm going to take the hopeful approach and say, okay, even if he misses the rest of this season, that's fine. Get it right in the offseason and come back ready for next season. But does this raise concerns for you that maybe he won't ever, truly recover or never really be what they expected him to be at that number 2 overall spot?
Well, I think other teams, perhaps, Golden State may have been like, maybe LaMelo would have been a better choice.
Yeah.
Maybe, but he's got so much upside that it's hard to just let go and not take that chance. He's got so much upside. If he gets healthy, then, I mean, that is just an absolute knockout for the team. But it's been a full year.
Yep.
And I don't know what's going on with the knee. I don't know if he's got like bad knees just in general. But I mean, you'd like to see him try and get healthy before he, puts too much, playtime on it. And I guess that's what they did with these 3 games. If it's not going to work out for now, then just do what you need to get healthy, because he's got that upside. He's worth taking the risk on.
Yeah. That's what always scares me about taking those 7-footers is they always seem to be the ones that, for whatever reason, they get hurt and just can never come back. I mean, you've had recent comparisons such as like Greg Oden. He was far and away the best pick in that draft and just could never get healthy. He had a couple decent years towards the end of his career with the Trailblazers, but I don't know. I mean, it's always scary, but I mean, I guess any pick you make can be risky with injuries. You can just never predict that. So I really hope they just shut him down. I mean, you hate to put that kind of load on Looney because he's having to step in for all those minutes, and he's had his own knee problems in the past. So you hate to put the entire load on Looney to stay healthy and come in and contribute for all those minutes. But at the same time, Wiseman's your future at the center position. Looney, I mean, he's filled in great. He's played very well, but at the end, I mean, you can't expect him to carry that for forever when you have the number 2 overall pick in waiting there. So, I don't know what they have to do with him, but like I said, I almost hope they just shut him down for the season, get him healthy, and then get him back for the start of this upcoming season so he can be ready and contribute right away and hopefully build a championship team. But it's frustrating because we've had all these injuries this season, and to get Steph to be the one that gets hurt towards the end of the season. I mean, they've overcome Iguodala being out majority of the season. They've had Clay. Obviously, he had to work his way back. And it's just been one thing after another. So every time, obviously, you had the Draymond one as well. Every time it feels like they're starting to get back to full strength, someone else goes down or the same person goes down again. So,
like you can look at Moody, GP2.
yep.
I mean, they're just taking hit after hit after hit. And it's
Yeah,
really frustrating as a fan watching it because you want to see all of these guys on the team play. And we haven't had a single game with the full roster, even close to the full roster.
And I still haven't seen the prognosis on Moody. Have you?
I just read something that he's out a week or two.
Oh, okay. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Because he did hurt that shoulder and it looked pretty bad, but
a right shoulder sublimation. It was popped into place. This happened to him before. So I don't think it's something serious, but I think
if it keeps happening, then it gets a lot more serious, but hopefully nothing major. Just usually pretty sore after that and takes some time to get it to the inflammation to go down. So hopefully he just misses a couple games, but he had been stepping up quite well. I'd like what I'd seen out of Moody in the last few games, and Kuminga's really building his career path up as well. So he makes at least one crazy play per game where you just like everyone in the stadium just gasps. So you love to see that, especially from those two that you take early in the draft this past off season. So the thing that surprised me is how well Phoenix is still playing despite not having Chris Paul. I think they're 9 games ahead of Memphis for the 1 seed and then 9.5 over the Warriors for the 1 seed. So I don't think they're at risk of dropping down in enough games to lose that 1 seed. So I think the playoffs are going to be going through Phoenix. Do you like them, especially if they get CP3 back to get that first trophy there in Phoenix?
I haven't watched any Phoenix games, so I'm a bad person to, tell you what's going to happen for them. Obviously, their record is impressive. Like we were talking about with CP3 going down, this, Golden State has a chance to come back. Like, look at the first seed, but they've not taken their foot off the gas at all.
No.
I got to start watching more of their games because I want to see how impressive they are.
Well, and to be fair, I've probably only watched maybe 2 Phoenix games that was not against the Warriors so far this season, but both of those games they've been really impressive, and I don't think they're playing the toughest schedule right now. So obviously, if they're not losing a ton of games, I mean, who knows how much that speaks to how well they're playing, but the fact that they've only lost 14 games all season, that speaks pretty loudly there. So all right. Well, I think with that, we could probably move on to some depressing news for you. And really, I'd just like to hear very good news for me. But what do you think? Obviously, the Devontae Adams trade hurts you guys immediately. You get a first pick and a second pick in this upcoming draft. I think it's 22 and 53 are the draft pick slots. So let's just hear your take on the Devontae trade and then further onto the Packers offseason.
Very confused initially. Like, it kind of makes sense, but for what they gave up doesn't make sense at all to me. Like, we had this conversation earlier this week, and I guess I could see it, but it hurts too much. And to see, Devontae Adams is like the player you want on your team, that like prototypical, like hardworking, nose to the grindstone kind of guy. Like, he doesn't cause any problems. There's zero drama. He just goes and puts work in. And then he's and extremely productive.
Yes.
Like it's going to be unbelievably difficult to try and find, the 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns a season. Maybe not 20. I don't know how many he had. It was something like that. 15?
He had enough.
Yeah.
More than any Raiders receiver, for sure.
It's going to be hard to replicate that kind of production. So it sucks to see him go. It also kind of hurts to, want to pay him $28 million a year, like he wanted, $29 million a year that he wanted. So I get it, but hopefully he does well in Raider Nation. I would have liked to see a little better deal, like the first and second round picks for the best receiver in the league.
Yeah.
That's not a great trade, but he wasn't going to stay and he wasn't going to play, so it's better than nothing.
See, and that's where I'm at first glance when I saw they only got a first and a second, I was like, wow, we absolutely stole him from them. But then you remember that if they do the franchise tag and then another team wants him, I mean you only get a one for that anyway. So getting a 1 and 2 is not terrible, but at the same time, you probably could have got more. The one thing that probably limited you very significantly in what you could get for him was one, the contract, but also he said the only team he will play for is the Raiders. So when you're only competing against one other team, and like you said, well, how does he have all the cards? And the way that he has all the cards in this negotiation process is if a team wants to trade for him, they could, for sure. He's on that franchise tag. So at the end of the day, if they want to trade for him, the Packers can send him wherever they want. He doesn't have a no trade clause. But he holds all the leverage because if he says, okay, you guys trade for me, fine. I'm not going to play on the franchise tag and I'm not going to sign an extension with you. Well, then you're essentially throwing away all your picks. Sure, you can fine him, for everything he misses, and he could miss a whole season. And at that point, I mean, what do you have to show for it? You have all those draft picks you missed out on, so and you can't sign him to an extension. So it's really him using what leverage he does have and saying, no, I'm not going to sign an extension if you trade for me. So his market was limited to one team and one team only, and that was the Raiders. He wanted to go play with. Well, I mean, that's his hometown team. He's from California. That's been the team he rooted for growing up. Obviously, they're not in Oakland anymore, but that was his team growing up, and that's his quarterback he played with in college, and that's who he wanted to play with. So it makes sense on his side why he wanted to go to be with the Raiders, and especially with the fractured relationship that he had with the front office in Green Bay, that they just get something done. So, and quite honestly, we didn't pay him. I mean, on paper, we paid him $28.2 million per year, something like that. But really, if you look at the contract, it's a 5-year deal. Only the first 3 years are guaranteed, and it averages out to like $22.5 million per year over the first 3 years. The last 2 years are kind of just added on years. They're $40 million apiece, but most likely they're not going to ever pay him that $40 million a year, because even if he performs very well in those first 3 years and they want to keep him, they'll likely either cut him and renegotiate a contract, or just renegotiate the contract and kick that money down the line again, or whatever they need to do. But that allowed him to say, I got the most new money ever as a wide receiver, so he felt good about that, but also fit into the cap for the Raiders and still allow them to make some more additions if they need to, which they definitely need some offensive line. So what do you guys – I know you lost Marquez Valdez-Scantling as well. Do you think you bring him back now since you're not paying Devontae, or you guys look elsewhere still?
I've seen something about like they want to bring him back, but other teams have interest in him as well. So
Yep.
I don't know if Green Bay's wanting to pay him like 10 to 12 million. So
the crazy thing is, Did you see that Christian Kirk contract that the Jaguars gave him?
Mm-mm.
It was like 4 years, 84 million, I think. Let me look it up real quick. But anyway, Christian Kirk is like a number 3 receiver, and they paid him like more than a number 1 receiver typically gets. So I think all the wide receivers on the market right now are like, I'm better than that guy. Why am I not getting paid like that guy? So I think that's what's held up a lot of these wide receiver contracts, honestly. But go ahead.
What were the Jaguars thinking?
Well, I think the thing is they have to pay more to get people to want to come there. That's the only way that they can attract free agents because they don't have an established team. Their GM is, I mean, all the fans in Jacksonville, whatever fans they have, came to the stadium at the last game of the season wearing clown suits saying fire Trent Baalke, and the owner doubled down and didn't fire him. So, like, the fans are pissed, but free agents see that and they're like, we don't want to go lose with this guy, so he's having to pay above and beyond what he should be paying for these players just to get them to come there. So
That's insane.
I'm just looking up his salary real quick because
That's
it was
bad business.
crazy.
It was
Well, the
not a
Raiders used
good
to have to do
season
it
for him
too.
last year. Well, yeah, that's a. I still remember Javon Walker
Yep.
going there. That was the biggest mistake.
Yeah, I mean we've in
Randy
the
Moss.
yeah Randy Moss gave him a crazy contract and ended up trading him for nothing for peanuts. But yeah, 4-year, 84 million for Christian Kirk.
A bag of peanuts.
Basically. So anyway, yeah, no, I think
I don't know.
MBS he definitely had a market. I think a lot of teams wanted him. I know the Raiders were definitely in on him as well before they pulled off the Devontae trade. So I think he has quite the market, and that's why he's probably not, in a hurry to make a decision, especially if he can use that Christian Kirk contract as leverage to get his 20 million a year. Because my God, that is crazy. Like Christian Kirk was the third best receiver on his team.
Yeah, I hardly even know who Christian Kirk is. If you would have told me, yeah, he was traded to, I don't know, the Dolphins, I'd have been like, oh yeah, okay. I totally believe
Insane.
you. I have no idea about Christian Kirk.
Have you guys made any other moves? I haven't really followed other than obviously the big one coming to us.
They have released Zadarius Smith.
Yep, I saw that one.
And
he signed with the Ravens and then backed out of that deal. So I think he's a free agent again, maybe. But
I didn't see. I didn't see him signing with anybody. But
yeah, he signed with the Ravens, but backed out. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I heard something that they wanted to bring him back again. But
well, he's available.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I really like him, and he's good, but he was hurt all last season, so that's definitely why they cut him. They re-signed Rasul Douglas, if you know who that is.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The practice squad guy.
Yeah, that's the best story of the season last year.
That was insane, and it made me mad because we were struggling so bad at cornerback all season, especially with the Arnett getting cut, and then Trayvon Mullen got hurt. So we had Douglas on our practice squad and just cut him, and he goes to your team and ends up with what, like 6 picks or something?
Yeah, 2 picks, 6, and 5 picks, I believe.
Total? Yeah. Insane.
That unbelievable season, because he shows up like week 8, and then maybe it was week 7. So I don't know. Beats the Cardinals because we got him off of the practice squad of the Cardinals. Yep. Beats the Cardinals with that interception in the end zone to finish the game. And then he just goes on a tear.
Yeah. He had one more walk-off pick too, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Good for him. I think he got a 3-year, $21 million deal or something like that. So pretty good money for coming off the practice squad last year.
Yeah, that is good for him, man. Just keep trying. Doesn't matter how where you're at, because one season could just lead to the next, big year. So that was
Any
really good.
other moves that you guys made or
We
rumored to be
retained
making?
Devondre Campbell, if you know who that is.
Nope.
He led the team in tackles this last year.
Okay.
We got rid of Blake Martinez, 2 years before, and he led the team in tackles by I think he had over 100 tackles or some shit like that. And we really haven't had somebody in the middle like that until Devondre Campbell. And
Okay.
he's been playing really well. I know a lot of other teams had some interest in him. So I think after Tay, they decided to throw some money at some other players.
Yeah. Makes sense. What
Do you
do
guys?
you guys see, or what do you see as more unfinished business they have? I would say there's an obvious need at wide receiver. There's supposed to be one of the Ohio State guys or possibly Doxson from Penn State available at 22 where we were supposed to pick. We were linked to a lot of those guys with the need at wide receiver. So I think you guys can still get a probably not anything close to Devontae, but at least a
Yeah.
premier college wide receiver. Would you like to see something more done in free agency, or do you think draft is where it comes now?
We have to find something. We have to go to free agency. It makes no sense to just rely on draft, because you would have to, just knock it out of the park on the draft to see anything in the next season. Because
Yeah.
we have Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb
Yep.
in our wide receiver room right now. We are hurting. And even if you do bring MVS back, he was a solid, okay number two. But, you can look at the playoffs against the 49ers. Couldn't throw it to anybody outside of Adams. So you're going to have to really find something in free agency, in my opinion.
Is Tanyan coming back? Or is he a free agent as well?
They signed him to a 1-year deal.
Okay. So that'll help if they didn't have him in the playoffs because he had that knee, right?
Yeah, he messed up his knee.
So I think having him, especially in those cold weather games, is super beneficial to having a dump off, so to speak. You guys have what, 2 running backs under contract? 2, Aaron Jones and who's
the
the
big
other one?
guy, Quadzilla, AJ
Taylor.
Dillon.
AJ Dillon, yeah. So I feel like you guys have enough weapons that you don't necessarily need to go to free agency, although I would like to see you guys bring back MVS. I just don't know what's left out there for you guys to sign that would be an upgrade. So that's why I'm thinking the draft is probably you get 1 or 2 wide receivers in the draft and then see what you have. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Once you get past that initial first surge, it's like, okay, well, I don't even know who's a free agent now. So there's still
I'm
Tyrann
seeing
Mathieu.
I'm seeing a bunch of nonsense about bringing Julio Jones over.
Oh yeah,
And I'm just like, but I don't want to pay Julio Jones to sit on the bench.
You won't be paying him that much, I don't think. That's why I think I would love that signing.
If it was low.
Well, he's going to have to go on a prove it deal for sure this season. He was banged up all last season and didn't play that well when he was on the field. Granted, he had Ryan Tannehill throwing him the football. So I think Aaron Rodgers on a 1-year prove it deal, he would love that and he would tear it up. I think you guys would get every penny out of him and then some. So
I don't know. It kind of concerns me because if it was a worthwhile deal, if you're paying him $8 million for a year, that's something I could live with. But for him to sit on the bench, it just kills me. I would not like to see that.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the Bengals just signed Lyle Collins from Dallas to a deal, so they're shoring up their offensive line. I'm trying to see. There was a nice little list of free agents still available that someone had just put out. I think it was Ari Merov. Trying to pull that up right now. But he posts so much crap, it's hard to filter through all of it. Let's see. I shouldn't say crap. He posts all free agent signings and all that fun stuff, so he does great. But he posts so much that it's hard to sift through it all to find what you're looking for there.
How are the Raiders looking?
They look great. I mean, honestly, we went from everyone saying like we're the fourth best team in the division to we make the Tay trade, and now everyone's saying Super Bowl time, baby. So I think there's probably somewhere in between there. I think if we add some offensive line pieces, whether through the draft or hopefully we get one or two from free agency with some proven guys, but I think we're well on our way to being back in the playoffs at least. And that's saying a lot, with Denver making their big trade for Russell Wilson. The Chargers brought in Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. So those are two huge defensive pieces where their defense wasn't that great last year. And then you have, obviously, the Chiefs at the top of the division. They haven't really done much. They added Juju, and then they added Justin Reed at safety. But that's about all they've been able to do because of their salary cap situation. So
right.
I think the gap between the Raiders and the Chiefs is a lot closer than it was last year. So I think having, Darren Waller, Tay Adams, and Hunter Renfrow, along with Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Brandon Bolden, we're pretty stacked at the skill positions now. So that definitely leads to where we're probably not going to let the Chiefs run away from us like we did last year. We played them twice last year, and I think we lost by probably 60 points combined between those two games. It was rough. But so I think we're a lot closer. If we could just split with them, that's going to put us in a lot better situation. But I think it's going to be tough to split with, we're going to have to split with the Chargers and the Broncos too, probably, just to have a chance to get into the playoffs. So I think that AFC West is probably the most competitive division on paper. Obviously, things can play out a lot differently than they look on paper. But at least what I've seen on paper, it looks like this is going to be a very loaded division. And then if you go to the conference, you now have the Browns with Deshaun Watson. You have the AFC North is pretty loaded. Steelers are probably, quote unquote, the worst team on paper in the AFC North, and that's just because their quarterback situation. But I think they improved with adding Mitchell Trubisky. So with their defense coupled with an improved offense, I mean, AFC North and AFC West are going to be fantastic. That's 8 contenders right there, and you only have, 7 playoff spots? So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough division and tough conference to get in the playoffs, but I think we have the firepower to do it. So, and here's the list right here. So there's Tyrann Mathieu, he's still available. Terron Armstead, he's still available. Bobby Wagner, Stephon Gilmore, Odell Beckham, Gronkowski, although he's probably going back to the Bucs. J.C. Treader, he was I think, center from the Cleveland Browns. Akeem Hicks, Calais Campbell, Dwayne Brown, Melvin Ingram, and Jarvis Landry. So all those guys are still available. Obviously, there's some more free agents, but still some pretty talented players that you can grab and add to your roster at the right price. So have you been following the Cleveland stuff with the trade for Deshaun Watson, and now obviously Baker Mayfield's pissed? Okay.
I missed those.
Basically, they were courting Deshaun Watson, which pissed off Baker because they basically, if they had just said, Baker, we're going to try to get Deshaun Watson. If we can't get him, we still believe in you. We just think he's an upgrade. So sorry if you hurt feelings. We're going to go after him. If not, then we'll move ahead with you. Instead of doing that, they said, we want an adult at quarterback. So they basically bagged on Baker. And then Deshaun Watson said Cleveland's out of the running for his services. So Baker was like, well, now I want to trade. But then they came in with a fully guaranteed contract and swung the trade for Deshaun. He obviously loved that. I think it's $250 million contract, fully guaranteed. So
fully guaranteed.
Fully guaranteed, all 5 years. So, and they also put his base salary for 2022 at $1 million. So if the commissioner decides to suspend him for the full season, that's all he's going to miss is $1 million. Then he'll get the rest fully guaranteed. I think 249 is the remainder of it. So it's insane, but they definitely did him well. So obviously that he was more receptive to going to there. And now Baker wants out.
Would you take obviously. That deal?
Would I take? Sure, I would.
A fully guaranteed contract.
$250 million. Yeah.
To go play for, Jacksonville.
I don't care where it is.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Continental U.S., I'll take it.
You can put me in the Arctic. I don't care. Sorry.
Well, might have to be more than that to go to the Arctic, but
For 5 years? Nope.
Yeah. So they made that deal work. Now the obvious question is, where does Baker Mayfield end up? And if you look at the teams that are still needing a quarterback, I mean, you've got Seattle, you've got Detroit, probably. Trying to think where else. Carolina. Well, Steelers, I think they'd rather have Trubisky for a couple of years in draft than go with Baker Mayfield and give up assets. You've got the Saints. They were in the Watson sweepstakes as well. And then you have the Colts. So do you think any of those destinations make sense? And I will preface that by saying Mayfield has requested a trade to the Colts. I don't know if the Colts are interested, but right now they're running with, I can't even remember their backup's name, but I think it's not Eberflus. I'll look it up real quick. But anyway,
Brissett?
No, Brissett signed with Cleveland to back up Watson.
Yeah, I don't know. Colts. If it was me choosing, if I was the GM, I wouldn't go after him. I mean, if it was my last option and I'm not gonna give anything up for him though.
See, and that's the hard thing because you have Garoppolo, that's a better quarterback than Mayfield, I would say. Garoppolo probably doesn't have the upside that maybe Mayfield still has. I mean, he's still a young player, but he really hasn't realized that high capacity, if it's there, at any point during his Cleveland stint. So I can't find that kid's name. And I watched him play last year when Wentz was out for COVID, I think, but I can't remember his name. Now I feel bad. But
I don't know.
But like you said, I don't think I would give up with what's available out there in free agency. I don't know that I would. Ellinger, that's his name, Sam Ellinger. I don't feel like I would give up any assets.
I don't know. I don't think I could, unless it's something like piddly 7th round, just to have him. And I know that I'm just going to be, working towards drafting somebody. Yeah. I don't know if it's like on full rebuild, but I don't think Baker Mayfield is a good enough quarterback to win in the NFL after having, Njoku, Landry, OBJ, I mean, Chubb. He has a ton of offensive weapons, in my opinion.
Couldn't do it. Yep.
He just could not. I mean, he'd go, It was like 23 of 24 one game, 3 touchdowns, perfect game. And then he just throws picks, overthrows. I mean, it was just way, way insanely too inconsistent.
Well, and I think you saw with OBJ, I mean, he didn't do anything in Cleveland. And then as soon as he goes to the Rams in whatever it was, half a season, if that, and puts up more stats than he did the entire time he was in Cleveland. So you can just see how much one, like the difference in quarterback, can elevate a wide receiver. And yeah, it's shocking to me how. And to be fair, he was playing with injuries that most of the season
Right.
to his non-throwing shoulder, which can still affect your throwing motion and all that. So you have to give him credit for trying to get it out. But if he wasn't putting his best, or if he wasn't putting his team in the best position to win, then that's on the coaching staff for not putting in the backup or whatever. If they thought they could do better with the backup, so yeah, I don't know where he ends up, but I think they're gonna want something in return because he is a former number one overall pick. But I don't know if that's realistic. I mean, I don't know if it ends up with him just getting straight up cut. But I think time is not on his side because you have, like I said, you got Jameis Winston, you got Marcus Mariota, you've got Garoppolo on the trade block, and there's not very many spots left. I think I listed 4 or 5 teams, and there's probably at least 4 or 5 capable available quarterbacks on the market. So, and then we've already touched on Von Miller to the Bills, but I do want to get your opinion on that. The contract is definitely a little misleading. It's 6 years, 120 million, but it's basically 3 years guaranteed for I think it was 53 million. So pretty good little deal there for Von Miller in his I think age 33 season.
Yeah, that's really good. Good for him. I mean, just after a Super Bowl, you'd think he'd want to stay with the Rams, but I don't know what
I
the
think he
Rams.
wanted to, but I don't think they had enough cap space to do anything
Yeah.
realistic for him.
He did mention that the reason he went to the Bills is because Josh Allen is a beast, and
Yep.
he liked that. So I mean, I'm happy to see it. Anything that happens for the Bills, good is great with me because I'm a big, Allen fan now. So I like to
Yeah,
see the Bills win, and I think that he fits.
I want to see the Bills win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen at the helm for sure. So it's tough to say that with my team being in the AFC as well. But if it's not going to be the Raiders, then for sure the Bills are my next best team to win it all. So,
Yeah.
And then the last point, you just had a note about AB. What do you got from him? I would say that I know, but I can't see his stuff on Twitter because he blocked me. So
I just love watching the dumpster fire that is Antonio Brown because it's like crazy written TV, just like insane stuff. If you're watching like the entertainment channel and Kim Kardashian stuff, it's just wild. But he's trying to go to Cleveland. He put on Twitter CAB cab, and then that's Cleveland Antonio Brown.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. He's always doing this kind of stuff, poking his name out there, like, "Hey, look at me, Raiders!" And I don't know. It's
He's
just bad.
he's the Khloe Kardashian of the clan.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get that reference. But
That's fine.
would you take him back?
No, God no. Like, first of all, we don't need him, but he's not worth the distraction. I mean, we traded for him for a third round pick, I think, and it was just all bad news. Obviously, he burnt his feet with ice and called the GM a cracker, threw his helmet at the GM, got kicked off the team, got all his guaranteed money taken away. So no, it was a dumpster fire. I do not wish to. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Except maybe we get him to the Broncos. Maybe we
There
get
you
him
go.
to the Broncos.
Get him there. It's like a Josh McDaniels. Send him there just to dismantle the team from the inside.
Don't say that.
Oh wait, you
Yeah,
hired Josh McDaniels.
yeah. He's going to get the best out of Davante Adams.
He's gonna trade Davante.
Why would
the
he trade him?
Bears.
He just traded him. Doesn't even make sense. Anyway, all right. Well, with that being said, I think that's all we had for this week. So I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we call it a episode?
You got a best and worst of the week?
I do not. I mean, I could come up with one, but
Yeah, just
if
do
you
it.
want to go first,
Off the cuff.
off the cuff. Best of the week is baseball's back, baby. Oh no! Davante Adams. Adams. Trade for Davante Adams. That's
my
best of the week.
Worst of the week.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
And then
odd.
And then worst of the week, I don't know, that I'm not in Arizona right now watching spring training while there's snow on my front yard.
That's pretty good. Work is probably my worst, or no, best of the week, huh? I was just thinking work sucks, so it's also my worst of the week.
Yeah.
Best of the week is not going into work on Saturday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you normally work Saturdays?
Yeah, I've been working constantly.
Huh.
Because, it's just because they let me do overtime. But they
making that scratch, huh?
Yeah, I got to. The wife quit her job.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I probably shouldn't have told the world that.
Luckily, I don't think we have very many viewers in the UK, so probably all right.
My brother just told me that he's watching live on YouTube.
I saw he made a comment, but I didn't know what to say for his YouTube name. Trafalgar Law?
Oh yeah, Trafalgar from One Piece.
No, I don't watch that, but anyway, thanks for tuning in, Travis. Appreciate the shout out. And
if you're still watching,
he is. I could see the dot there, but anyway,
cool.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we will catch up with you next week.